You ever notice how some greetings just feel different? Not louder, not longer, but deeper. It's in the way he says your name, the way his eyes light up before his words even land. Most people greet you out of habit, but when a man is truly crazy about you, his greeting becomes a moment, a signal, a quiet confession he doesn't even realize he's making. And if you know what to look for, you'll never miss it again. And the first thing you start to notice, it's not even what he says. It's what happens before the words ever arrive. Because when a man is truly crazy about you, his face tells the story long before his voice gets the chance. You'll see it in that split second, that moment where he spots you and something shifts. It's almost like his whole expression wakes up. His eyes don't just look at you, they find you. There's recognition. But more than that, there's a kind of quiet excitement he can't hide. His eyebrows lift just a little. His gaze softens. And suddenly, there's this warmth that wasn't there a second ago. And the smile. That smile isn't practiced. It's not the polite one he gives to everyone else. It's real. It's immediate. And it reaches all the way up to his eyes. You can tell it wasn't planned. It just happened. Like seeing you triggered something automatic inside him, something honest. What's powerful about this is that it's not something he's thinking about. He's not standing there telling himself, okay, smile now, look happy. No, this is instinct. This is emotion moving faster than logic. And when emotion moves that fast, it's usually because it's been there, building quietly beneath the surface. You might even notice how everything else around him seems to fade for a moment. Maybe he was in the middle of something, talking to someone, scrolling on his phone. But when he sees you, there's a pause. Not forced, not dramatic, just natural. Like your presence interrupted his world in the best possible way. And here's the thing, people can fake words. They can rehearse what they're going to say, choose the right tone, even act interested. But that first reaction, that instant shift in expression, that's almost impossible to fake. It's too quick, too raw, too real. Sometimes it's subtle. It's not always a big, obvious reaction. It might just be a softer look, a calmer energy, a sense of ease that washes over him the moment you're there. But if you pay attention, you'll feel the difference because it won't feel like you just walked into his space. It'll feel like you changed it. And that's when you start to understand something important. When someone's face lights up like that, it's not about politeness. It's not about being friendly. It's about impact. It's about the fact that your presence genuinely does something to him, something he doesn't even try to control. So before you listen to the words, before you analyze the conversation, just watch that moment, that first look, that first reaction, because in that instant, without him saying a single thing, you'll already know exactly where you stand. And when you see it, you won't have to question it. And then come the words, simple, ordinary words on the surface. A hi, a hey, maybe nothing more than that. But when a man is truly crazy about you, it's not just what he says, it's how he says your name that changes everything. Because your name in that moment doesn't sound casual. It doesn't feel like something he just throws into conversation. It carries weight. There's a certain warmth wrapped around it, a kind of softness that you don't hear when he's talking to just anyone else. It's subtle, but it's there. And once you notice it, you can't unnotice it. He might say it a little slower than usual, almost like he doesn't want to rush through it. Or there's a slight pause right before he says it, like he's savoring the moment of acknowledging you. And it's not dramatic. It's not over the top. It's just real. It's that small difference in tone that makes you feel like, for a second, your name actually means something more when it comes from him. And think about this. Your name is one of the most personal things you carry. Everyone uses it, but not everyone feels it when they say it. When someone is emotionally invested, they don't just say your name to get your attention. They say it because it feels natural to them, because it's connected to how they see you, how they think about you when you're not even around. You might even catch moments where he says your name when he doesn't really have to. He could have just said, hey, but instead he includes it, not out of habit, but because in his mind, it brings a kind of closeness to the interaction. It makes it more personal, more direct, more you. And there's something else hidden in that too. When a man says your name with that kind of intention, it's often because he's more aware of you than he lets on. He notices you. He thinks about you. And in that brief moment of greeting, all of that awareness comes through in the simplest way possible, just by the way he says it. Sometimes his voice might even drop slightly or soften without him realizing it. There's less sharpness, less distance. It feels closer, more grounded. Like he's not just speaking into the air, he's speaking to you. And you feel the difference immediately, even if you can't explain it right away. What makes this so powerful is that it's not something most people consciously control. You can't easily fake that kind of tone, that kind of warmth, especially not consistently. It comes from a place that's a little deeper than words. It's emotion slipping through the cracks in the most natural way. So, while everyone else might be greeting you the same way they greet anyone, his voice carries a different energy when it reaches your name. And it's not louder, it's not more dramatic. If anything, it's quieter, but more intentional, more present. And that's when you start to realize it's not just about being noticed, it's about being felt. In that one simple moment, in the way he says your name, you're not just another interaction in his day. You're someone who matters enough to change the way he speaks without even trying. And when your name starts to sound different coming from him, that's when you know something deeper is already there. And then there's something even more telling, something you don't hear, but you feel immediately. It's the way his attention shifts. Because when a man is truly crazy about you, he doesn't just greet you, he locks in on you. You'll notice it right away. The moment you step into his presence, it's like everything else around him loses its importance. Maybe there were people talking, maybe his phone was in his hand, maybe something else had his focus just seconds before. But when he sees you, all of that fades into the background without effort, and it's not forced. That's what makes it different. He's not putting on a show, not trying to prove anything. His attention just naturally moves towards you like that's where it wants to be. His body turns, his eyes stay on you, and there's this quiet sense that in that moment, you become his priority. You can feel it in the way he listens too, not just hearing your words, but actually taking them in. He's not nodding absent-mindedly, not waiting for his turn to speak while his mind is somewhere else. No, he's present, fully there, and that kind of presence is rare because most people are only halfway in any interaction. Think about how often you talk to someone and you can tell they're distracted. Their eyes drift, their attention splits, their energy feels divided. But with him, it's different. There's a steadiness, a focus that feels intentional even if he's not consciously doing it. And here's the deeper part. Attention is one of the clearest forms of value. People give their attention to what matters to them, to what pulls them in, to what they don't want to miss. So when his attention settles on you like that, without hesitation, it's not random. It's a reflection of where you stand in his mind. You might even notice how he reacts to small things you say, little details that most people would overlook. He catches them. He responds to them. It's like he's tuned into you on a slightly deeper level, picking up on things that don't register for everyone else. And it's not just about eye contact or facing you physically. It's the energy behind it. The feeling that for those few moments, you're not competing with anything else in his world. You're not sharing his focus. You have it. Even if the interaction is brief, even if it's just a quick greeting, that level of attention leaves an impression because it's not something you can fake easily. Real focus comes from genuine interest, from emotional pull, from that quiet desire to be connected, even in the smallest way. And the truth is, people don't give that kind of attention to just anyone. They reserve it for the ones who matter, the ones who shift something inside them, the ones who make them want to be fully present, even if they don't fully understand why. So when you feel that shift, when you notice that everything else seems to fall away the moment he's with you, don't overlook it. Don't brush it off as nothing, because in a world full of distractions, undivided attention is one of the clearest signs of real emotion. And when all of his focus lands on you without effort, that's when you know this isn't casual. And just when you think confidence would make everything smooth, controlled, perfectly put together, there's this small, unexpected detail that shows up. A crack in the surface, a little shift you didn't expect, because when a man is truly crazy about you, there's often a subtle nervous energy that slips through, and that's where things get even more real. It's not the kind of nervousness that feels uncomfortable or awkward in a negative way. It's not insecurity taking over the moment. It's something much quieter than that, something almost human. You might notice it in the way he adjusts his posture when he sees you, like he suddenly becomes more aware of himself. His shoulders straighten, or maybe he fidgets slightly, as if he wants to present himself well without overthinking it. Sometimes it shows up in his voice. Maybe it changes just a little, gets softer or slightly quicker, or even hesitates for a second before finding its rhythm again. It's not a loss of control. It's just that his emotions are stepping in, interrupting the usual flow. And for a moment, you can hear that something deeper is happening beneath the surface. Even the smallest things can give it away. A brief stumble over a word, a laugh that comes a little too early, or a pause that lingers just a second longer than expected. These aren't mistakes, they're signals. They're the result of him caring more than he normally would in a simple, everyday interaction. And here's what makes this so important to understand. People only get a little nervous when something matters to them. When there's nothing at stake, everything stays smooth, effortless, almost automatic. But when emotions are involved, when there's a desire to be seen a certain way, to connect, to not mess it up, that's when that slight nervous energy begins to show. Even men who are usually confident, calm, and composed aren't immune to this. In fact, sometimes it's even more noticeable with them because you can sense the contrast. You can tell this isn't how they are with everyone else. There's a difference in how they carry themselves around you, and it's not something they're doing on purpose. And the truth is, that little bit of nervousness is actually a good thing. It means he's not treating you like just another interaction. It means there's something about you that makes him pause, that makes him think, that makes him feel just enough pressure to get it right. You might even feel it in the air between you, a slight tension, but not the uncomfortable kind, the kind that feels alive, like something unspoken is sitting there, waiting to be acknowledged, even if neither of you says it out loud. And that's what makes it powerful, because confidence can be impressive, but this is honest. This is what happens when someone's emotions are just strong enough to peek through the surface without taking over completely. So don't overlook those small, imperfect moments. Don't mistake them for uncertainty or weakness, because in reality, they're often the clearest signs that what he feels isn't casual at all. And when his calm starts to bend just a little around you, that's when you know you've affected him. And then you start to notice something else, something that doesn't happen in a rush. Because when a man is truly crazy about you, he doesn't just greet you and move on. He tries in the smallest ways to stay in that moment just a little longer. It's subtle at first. The greeting ends, but he doesn't immediately step away. There's a pause, not an awkward one, not a forced silence, but a kind of quiet extension, like he's not quite ready for the interaction to be over. And instead of letting it fade naturally, he adds something. A simple question, a small comment, anything that keeps the connection alive for just a few more seconds. He might ask something he doesn't necessarily need to ask. How's your day going? Even if he just saw you earlier. Or he'll bring up something small you mentioned before, just to keep the conversation moving. And it's not about the words themselves. It's about the intention behind them. He's creating reasons, however small, to stay engaged with you. And you can feel it in the timing. Most people greet you and then quickly return to whatever they were doing. But with him, there's no rush to leave. His body stays oriented towards you, his attention doesn't drift, and there's this sense that he's stretching the moment without making it obvious. Sometimes it even shows up in the way he says goodbye. He doesn't cut it off abruptly. There's a slight hesitation, maybe even a second glance, like he's considering saying something more, but holding back just enough. It's that quiet reluctance to let the moment end, even if it was brief to begin with. And here's the deeper truth behind all of this. When someone values your presence, they don't rush through it. They linger, not in a way that feels overwhelming, but in a way that feels intentional, because time, even in small amounts, becomes something they want more of when it comes to you. You might not even realize how rare that is at first. In a world where everyone is busy, distracted, constantly moving from one thing to the next, someone choosing to slow down even for a moment stands out. It means that being around you isn't just another part of their day. It's a part they don't want to cut short. And the beauty of it is, he's not making grand gestures. He's not dramatically trying to hold your attention. It's all happening in these quiet, almost unnoticeable extensions. A few extra seconds, one more question, a slightly longer pause. But when you add those moments up, they tell a very clear story, because people don't try to extend moments that don't matter to them. They let those pass quickly without a second thought. But when something does matter, when someone matters, they instinctively try to hold on to it, even if it's just for a little while longer. So if you ever find yourself in a moment that seems to stretch just a bit more than usual, where the conversation doesn't end as quickly as it could, where he seems to find reasons to stay present just a little longer, pay attention to that, because that's not sluchai. That's choice, even if it's unconscious. And when someone keeps finding small ways not to let the moment end, that's when you know he doesn't just enjoy your presence. He wants more of it. And after all of that, after the way his face shifts, the way he says your name, the way his attention locks in, the slight nervous energy, the way he stretches the moment. You arrive at something that doesn't need analysis anymore, something you don't have to overthink or break down piece by piece, because at a certain point, you don't just see it, you feel it. There's a quiet clarity that settles in, not loud, not overwhelming, but steady. It's that inner sense that tells you this isn't just another interaction, it's different. And the interesting part is you often realize it before you can even explain why. You might try to put it into words at first. Maybe you tell yourself it's just a greeting, or maybe I'm reading too much into it. But that feeling doesn't go away. It stays with you, gently reminding you that something about that moment stood out in a way that others don't. And that's because real emotion has a way of communicating without needing permission. It doesn't wait for logic to catch up. It moves through tone, through energy, through presence, and you pick up on it naturally without effort. Think about it. You've had countless greetings in your life. People say hello every day, but how many of them actually leave an impression? How many of them make you pause, even for a second, after the moment is over? Not many, because most interactions are surface level. They pass through you without leaving a mark. But this kind of greeting, it lingers. Not because it was dramatic or intense, but because it felt real. It felt like there was something behind it, something unspoken but understood. And what's powerful here is that you don't need confirmation. You don't need him to say anything more, to make some grand declaration, to spell it out for you. Because in that moment, everything you needed to understand was already there. It came through in ways that words couldn't fully capture. At the same time, this is where a lot of people start to doubt themselves. They question their instincts. They second guess what they felt. They look for logical reasons to dismiss it. But the truth is, your ability to feel these subtle shifts is not sluche. It's awareness. It's emotional intelligence picking up on something genuine. Because when someone's energy toward you is consistent in these small but meaningful ways, it creates a pattern. And patterns don't lie. They build over time, reinforcing that what you felt wasn't imagined. It was observed, experienced, and understood on a deeper level. So instead of overanalyzing every little detail, sometimes the most honest thing you can do is trust that feeling. Trust the way his presence affects you. Trust the difference you sense without needing to prove it. Because when someone is truly crazy about you, it doesn't just show in what they do. It shows in what you feel when you're around them. And that feeling doesn't confuse you. It quietly makes things clear. And when it feels different without you forcing it to, that's when you know it truly is.